What just happened with Prophet Ralekholela should not happen. There is now pictures floating on social media from yesterday when Passion Java, as you can see in the pictures, went to visit Prophet Ralekholela at his church, and Java was there himself with his feminine t-shirts with diamonds on the neck, and God knows what that outfit was. And they published the pictures. And there is something that I want to make reference to in this video. You'll remember when some time ago, when Reverend Ralekholela was teaching about generals, right? I made a video and I said, these doctrines of generals is the very thing that attracts charlatans. You remember that thing. But it's because it's Ricky. It can't be true. Ricky, it can't be true. It can't be true. You know, Ricky just hates pastors. You remember I made that video right here. This clip 4 months ago. And I said, these doctrines of someone is a general, they attract falsehood, because that's the very same tone that these guys use. That's the same thing that these guys use in order for them to usurp themselves over people. It's 4 months ago, not long. You remember. And Uspa made a video and he was kind of responding to that. And I said, guys, be careful. This doctrine is not, this thing about spiritual rankings and what. This is not Bible. That's not how we speak. But because it's Ricky who's saying it, Ricky must be wrong. If you go back, you check the comments, there was all kinds of things. And then I made a video. I intended to do a part 1 to part 2 and stuff, but I didn't because we got occupied and stuff like that. I wanted to show that on earth, this idea is not how we must see ourselves. You remember we mentioned that. It's 4 months back. 4 months back. This doctrine of ranking, that there are people who are spiritually ranked higher than others in the church, this thing opens doors to falsehood, because that's what these people who are fake, that's what they use when they teach falsehood. That's why if you read 1 Corinthians, right? 1 Corinthians chapter number 3. Listen to how Paul speaks about how we must see each other. It's not Ricky who said this, man. Not because I hate Reverend Ralekholela. Reverend Ralekholela has a legacy in this country. But because nowadays, no, Ricky must be against us. Ricky must be against us. So that's why Ricky is saying that. Because it's become about that. It's become about these rankings and all these things, which are not in the Bible. If you go here, 1 Corinthians chapter number 3, and you listen, when he's talking about church leadership and so forth, he says, brothers and sisters, I cannot address you as people who have lived by the Spirit, but as people who are worldly in mind. He says, the way in Kabanga Accord, there is an element where you are not allowing yourself to see things from a spiritual perspective. He says, but as mere infants in Christ, okay, I gave you milk, not solid food. So I didn't teach you things that were difficult to understand. I gave you the average things to understand, and you were supposed to run with that. Okay, then he says, you are still worldly. For since there is jealousy and quarrels amongst you. Now people will use that to say, you see, when people are quarreling, it's because they're spiritually maturity. No, that's not what you are saying. We differ and debate doctrine because we are sharpening each other. It's part of the process of sharpening each other. Are you sure you are correct on this doctrine? Are you sure? The church must do that. That's what you saw with Peter and Paul. They were sharpening each other on doctrine. Before I go back to the Ralekholela thing, right? But because we want to know, Ricky must be an enemy. I'm going somewhere with this, okay? He says, you have since when do quarrels amongst you? Are you not worldly? And then he says, are you not acting like mere humans? There is a certain way you ought to be thinking, but are you not acting? He says, for when one says I am of Paul, or another says I'm of Apollos, he says this thing of dividing yourself. If you're from this church, you're from this church, no problem. You're from this church, you're from this church, it's no problem. But when you speak to each other, you must recognize that the other is part of the body that I am a member of. I might be led by this person. The denomination must fade. When we meet or when we talk, we are brothers in faith. That's it. I'm not subject to be recruited to your church. If I'm a believer, I'm a believer where I am. So nowadays, even people even do evangelism to recruit from other people's churches. Why? Because there is this thing of, he calls it being childish. He says, I follow Apollos. Are these not humans? Are these not mere human beings? He says, after all, who is Apollos and what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe. He says, as the Lord has assigned to every person, one plants, the other one waters. Now notice where this verse gets thinking. He says, so neither is the one who plants or the one who waters anything. There's no such a thing as a general in the faith. That language must die. That language must just disappear in the church. Don't allow those things. He says, these people are nothing but just tools by which you believed. He says, so then, not the one who plants or the one who waters is anything, but it is God who gave the increase. What I was saying then, this is why. It's off scripture. I was not just talking because I don't want to know, because I want to disagree. We ought to think of ourselves in that manner. This idea of generosity, it attracts falsehood. He says they are nothing but vessels. He says neither is the one who waters or the one who plants anything. It is God. The center is God here. Keep the center straight. And I said, this doctrine of rankings, it attracts falsehood, because in falsehood, that's what they preach. There's rankings, this one has more power than that one, this one has, but it's occultism. It's from there. Now, I'm not saying when Reverend was teaching that, he was teaching, don't get the wrong thing. What I'm saying is that this thing, it encourages that thing. We must not allow that. This thing of, because you've been preaching for 20 years, you are somehow, no. Paul says, neither you who plants or the one who comes to water those people. He says, you are nothing. It is God who gives the increase. That is who the center is. We must never take that. When our ranking is given when we die. That's why Paul says, he looks forward towards the crown which he will get from him who is in rewarding. He says he does not, and my reward is in my hand. The rankings we are given in the next life. But let me not steal your ranking, since you have ranking down here on earth. Y'all can continue with that. That's what you guys want to run with. I will not allow my reward in eternity to be made of no use to have ranking here. Take that, run with it. You can be ranked, whatever you want to rank, continue doing that. He says, I count all things but dung. How can Paul say, I count all things but dung, while he has ranking? It's not rank. We don't have rank here. That's why there is literally rewards where you hear, of rewards where people walk with Jesus. Ranking is in the next life. It's in the kingdom when we go to the kingdom to rule with Messiah. That's where ranking is given. Not here. But I'll tell you what was happening here. I'll tell you what was happening when Pashim Java is working on a thing. He's trying to establish himself in South Africa. He has a thing that he wants to do at Carnival. He's going to do a thing at Carnival. Joburg. He's in Joburg. So guess what he does? When he knows he has something in that particular area, he strategizes with his people. They sit down, they strategize, they strategize, they strategize. After they are done strategizing, you see, sitting down, they were discussing, they were doing what. They go to a person who is popularly known in that place there. So in this case, who did they go to? Reverend Ralekholela. That's the person who is known in South Africa, right? That's the person who, if you are associated with, you must be. So he goes to Reverend. When he wanted to do something in Cape Town, what did he do? He went to the most popular person there. He went to. I didn't search it before this, but I want to show you something that appeared in Prophet Suddenly. Let me see if I remember that thing. A year ago, Java was planning something, and when he went to Cape Town, do you see whom he went to? There it is, Cape Town. So who did he go to? Mohlala. There it is. Professor is Mohlala. When he's doing something in Joburg, who does he go to? He goes to. You see, this spiritual ranking teaching, it attracts falsehood. Java has been exposed several times. What is not clear? Because they're busy impregnating that girl. What? Why associate with such people? Why ruin a good legacy with these people? We skip. If you guys watched Prophet Suddenly, the film, you'll remember Prophet Suddenly. I think this was what? This was part 1. He's a fake prophet, okay? But he wants authenticity in the body. So as a result of looking for authenticity in the body, he finds a minister who is legit and has a clean record. And in the movie, Apostle Arume is that particular man. And then he tries to associate himself, okay? He tries to associate his ministry to someone who is legit. He says, no, but I don't know you. But he says, no, it's not about that. You know, you've been doing ministry for a very long time. Go watch that thing. Go watch that thing. And then when you are done watching that, you will see what I am making reference to. The movie warned. This is the strategy that these people. When Java went to America, who's the person he met with? Benny Hinn. But Benny Hinn was not giving the numbers. He jumped. He went to Noel Jones. Why ruin a good legacy with falsehood? Why endorse these people? Yeah, just them meeting you. That's all they need. They just need that picture with you. Historic Reality Show with daily Christian commentary videos. Other episodes down today, they'll be down in the pinned comments. I told you guys, these people love it. You see, when you teach those doctrines about ranking and what, they like those things because those things are. So there are pastors in church who continue teaching these things. And we say, listen, read the scriptures, okay? You will see that this thing of rank, it's not biblical. You only have ranking after There is no such a thing as ranking in thingy. Of course, there is a person who has right, particularly with the casting out of demons. You see it there. There's a person who has no business doing anything like that, right? Paul, I know. This person I know, but who are you? The demon, right? Most people use that, but they don't understand. The other person had no right to be doing that. Delving themselves into demons and what you have. Stay away from those things. But him, he wanted to be there. He wanted to display power. Ranking. As 1 Corinthians chapter number 3 shows, we are not the center. So there's not all this thing of ranking. The center is in. Strict Reality Show, as I said, I will see you guys on the next episode. Posted probably around 3 o'clock. It will be down in the pinned comments if it's possibly after 3 o'clock. So do check the pinned comments to see that other episode. It's not that we hate people. If go watch the video, go watch the first video that I made. That video that I made about this particular subject, I mentioned it. This thing attracts falsehood. 4 months. This was 4 months back. This type of teaching. Now do you see what I mean? Apart from that, Reverend Ralekholela is respected in South Africa or is respected all across. It attracts these people who are Dutch. It's Ricky. We're done.